All right, the first thing I'll say is um, it's kind of too bad that Squid Game didn't come out during like the playoffs of some sport or like March Madness because and this might still happen, but I can already picture the just like the audio of the Kansas City Chiefs have been eliminated. Or just one of those guys, those guards sticking a gun to like one of the characters' heads and just like the team's logo over the face. And then a gunshot. That might be pretty dark for ESPN. But they're suckers for buying into, whatever the most recent like trend is, memes and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like ESPN would probably show someone getting shot in the head if it meant um, get some views, get some likes. Everyone loves the old Squid Game. So I'll say that first. It's a bummer. It's a missed opportunity. A lot of potential there. Um, but today I want to talk about a little bit about overachievers, underachievers. We're like 10, 15% into the season already, and some teams have gone off to starts that they did not imagine for themselves. And some teams probably gone off to better starts than they could have ever imagined. Um, to start in the bottom, if we start like kind of bottom five teams in terms of not playing expectations, and we can quantify this as I quantified it, basically looking at their preseason over under in terms of wins, and then looking at their current record and basically, if they maintain that record throughout an 82 game season, how many wins would they end up with, and what's that difference? And so right now, the Pelicans have the biggest difference, a negative difference, because they've won one game so far out of 12. Their over under was 38 and a half, so they're on pace to get like 7 wins at the moment. Um, and I mean, obviously Zion not being there's a big issue. I think just from like an organization standpoint, obviously some dysfunction has been chronicled there for quite some time, leading to Anthony Davis leaving all that. There's talks about like Dave Griffin, Alvin Gentry being upset, having and rightfully so. And Brandon Ingram's been out a little bit, and I don't think it's too hard to really figure out what's going on in New Orleans at the moment. You can't say the same for the team with the second biggest difference, and that's the Atlanta Hawks, which this is basketball. I mean, they bring back basically the same roster that went to the Eastern Conference Finals and find themselves at like 4-8 at the moment. Trae Young is not reaching his averages, especially in terms of points. I don't know. It's a weird fit. Cam Reddish, I think, is someone that they need to step it up a little bit, make a leap. And just hasn't happened yet. DeAndre Hunter's coming off injury. I don't think he's been 100%. John Collins has been okay, up and down. Same with Clint Capella. I mean, they haven't really found any sense of consistency on either end of the floor. And that's tough in an NBA now where, I feel like there aren't a ton of gimme games anymore. I mean, obviously right now it looks like the Pelicans, looks like, Houston, Detroit, Orlando, OKC are kind of, you look at that in your schedule like, all right, we can kind of just pencil that W in. But not really. Maybe New Orleans at the moment, but those other, I mean, the Rockets, the Pistons are going to fight hard. OKC has some talent. They're going to win some games randomly. That's just kind of how it works. Orlando has a lot of promise, actually, in their roster, and Cole Anthony's, exceeding expectations, I'd say. As a second-year player, Mo Bamba is hitting like 40% of his threes. It's crazy. So there aren't a lot of gimme games. And a team with as much talent as Atlanta cannot just, roll into any arena and just, bulldoze some of those lower teams. Like, they're going to have to actually play and actually, earn wins against those teams. And the thing Trae Young said, I think it was after the first game against the Jazz, they were like, yeah, we're struggling to really make the regular season, like, matter. And it's like, bro, if your regular season doesn't matter, you're not even going to get into the playoffs. You're not going to get back to Eastern Conference Finals if you don't take this seriously. So I think maybe it's a young team, young leaders. they're gonna need some time to mature and maybe sort this thing out. I mean, we figured Nate McMillan, great coach, because he kind of turned them around last season, and now this is a test to see if they can get back on track and return to their former glory, which is really just last year's. Houston Rockets, not great so far from a win standpoint. I mean, no one really expects that. I think we've seen a lot of good flashes from Jalen Green. Christian Wood, interesting. Not as young as Jalen Green. I would think they could consider moving him because he's a great player. I think you could get a lot of value out of him, and I don't really know if he serves purpose being there at like 27, 28. It's like, might as well ship him out, Eric Gordon. I like the guy. It doesn't make sense probably for their rebuild. Next is the Indiana Pacers, who weird team to figure out because individually, statistically, it seems like everyone's kind of meeting their end of the bargain pretty much. Sabonis is having like around 20, 10, and 5, something like that. Brogdon's scoring 23 points a game. Miles Turner's getting his blocks. Chris Duarte early on, major contributor, still, going to play a lot of minutes. Torrey Craig had a couple of good games off the bench. TJ McConnell's doing TJ McConnell things, and it's like, well, why is this team like 4-8? And the truth of the matter is, it's all been close games, and I think they've struggled. And this has been a kind of a my cat's meowing. I'm talking basketball, bro. If you want in, yeah. Sabonis, is a great facilitator. What they've been missing, it seems like, is the guy at the end of the game that's going to knock down that shot that, either puts a team away that's like a dagger three or wins the game. It's those key possessions where it's like, all right, we need a bucket. Who do we go to? And Karis LeVert's a gifted scorer. Brogdon's a gifted scorer. But I don't think any of them can really claim to be like that guy. And that's what wins and loses you close games, is either having that guy or not. And so we'll figure out, give Rick Carlisle more games to figure out a rotation and who works and who doesn't. I think they'll be okay. Probably get back in the play-in, but remains to be seen. And the last team, if we're just doing bottom fives, the Milwaukee Bucks, pretty easy to pin this one on just injuries. Drew Holiday hasn't been in. Chris Middleton test positive for COVID, which obviously that's going to sideline you for a while. So, and that's your number 2 player. It's an all-star. So yeah, that's going to hurt you. They'll be back on track. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I wouldn't worry too much about them. And just to flip it a little bit, Golden State right now, has only lost 1 game. I would suggest you take a look at who they've beaten in their schedule, because it's pretty much been all teams under 500. So yes, it's impressive. Yes, you can look at all the stats, the ratings, percentages. But listen, they haven't played some top tier talent. I mentioned how there's not a lot of gimme games, which I hold to. I wouldn't say if I didn't believe it, but part of just having a good record in the NBA is beating the teams you're supposed to beat. Like if you think about the middle of the pack teams, like if you can beat everyone below you and then win like half or even a quarter of the teams like above you, then that puts you in the playoffs. So Golden State's taking care of business. Steph Curry's, doing Steph Curry things. Sorry, when you talk for like 9 minutes, the voice gets dry and you're going to have voice cracks, and it's embarrassing. And lastly, I'll mention the Washington Wizards, who, great record, and not even with Bradley Beal scoring like 30 points a game, like he's struggled. It's mostly been, Montrezl Harrell stepping up. If you're like a basketball reference person and you look at like MVP, they have like an MVP tracker, like Montrezl Harrell is in the top 10 right now. Kuzma is one of those guys who's going to work hard, love him, hate him. Guy gets a lot of rebounds, he does shoot a lot, but they need that. There's a lot more need for that in Washington than there was on the Lakers, so it makes sense that he would thrive. Spencer Dinwiddie's been solid, and really when you go across, like no one's like blowing out of the water and really impressive. it's just kind of like a solid core, and they're just finding ways to win games. And I feel like that's a really good sign going forward when your best player, best scorer is not firing on all cylinders, and you're still finding ways to win. That's positive. So we'll see going forward. Who's overperforming, who's underperforming. If these teams can, the bottom teams can get out of that conversation, the top teams can stay in the overachieving conversation. But always love talking about them. Looking forward to seeing where the season goes. And stay with me, not a commute still, but we're still talking basketball, so that's all that matters. And take care of yourselves, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.